One of the scariest things you can ever do is take complete and utter control of your life. I mean, it sounds great, right? Forget working for somebody. I'm going to stick it to the man. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to lead my life. I'm going to take life by the horns and, all those adjectives. But actually, when you do it, it's terrifying. Suddenly you wake up and you think, okay, I have to, make some money today, I guess. And, because I need to eat tomorrow or next week. But I don't really know how I'm going to make that money. I don't really know what I'm going to do. I feel great because I've stuck it to the man. But now my wallet's empty. And now I don't really know what I'm doing. And 6 months from now, I might have to totally give up, come crawling back to the man, and beg him to give me my job back.
Man, that was a buzzkill.
It's just the intro. So, I'm sure some of you out there might recognize my voice. My name is Mike. I'm the accountant. We're going to take this episode. I'm going to host this episode because, Austin he needs a break.
The demands of podcast life.
I know. It's so rough. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to spend this whole episode talking about starting a business. And specifically, because this is Homesteady, about starting a homestead business. We're going to spend this episode today talking about how to start a business, how to really get your idea off the ground, how to take this wonderful feeling of I'm going to stick it to the man and I'm not going to work my 9 to 5 anymore, and how to translate that into, okay, I'm actually successfully earning money, enjoying myself. I like my life better. Obviously, there's a lot of things you need to avoid, a lot of things you need to do right when you're starting a new business, when you're getting a fledgling business off the ground. So today we're going to talk about a lot of those things, and we're going to do that through the narrative of Austin's own story. Because he's done this. He is one of these guys that, he was working and he hated working and he wanted to stick it to the man. I'm going to start my own business. And he's had his ups and downs on the way.
So to be clear,
yeah.
I was working for my dad.
Oh,
and he was not the man. I like the bad man, the negative man. I was working with my dad and I loved it.
Yeah.
What I didn't have that kind of drove me to the point where I'm at now is the control I needed in my day-to-day life as our family grew.
Yeah.
And now we're at the point here, we have 3 children and the farm business has grown, where I got to a point where I needed to say, all right, I'm ready for the next step. Which one of the hardest parts of it was jumping away from working with my dad, because I did love working with my dad.
Right.
So for me, it was a little different. I wasn't like leaving a job that I hated. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed what I did. And I wasn't leaving like, I'm going to show my boss or any of that, because it was a family business. I was foreman on the team. And I still work with my parents' business, and we'll get to that, what I do professionally now.
Sure.
We'll get back to that. But, so a little bit different. It wasn't quite so motivated. What it really was motivated was I saw this idea, this dream of, I love homesteading, I love farming, and obviously I love doing the podcast. And I thought to myself, imagine if I could turn this lifestyle into my full-time job.
Sure.
And if I could be at home with my family, working on my farm, growing my farm business, somehow being more in control of just my life, and making the money I need from that. Okay. That's kind of what made me jump. So 4 years ago, we moved to this property. 4 years and change, and we got the chickens. I was hunting, and we were trying to grow just our own. How can we get more food from our property? How can we do more for ourselves? Just gain a little more control of our life and where our food was coming from, and all that stuff. And as it grew, I have a really big entrepreneurial bug in me. I come from a family of self-employment. I'm surrounded by people who have started their own businesses and been very successful with those businesses, and not necessarily in the black and white terms of success. My parents growing up were never wealthy. Their business never made them rich. And in fact, with the swings in the economy, at times it's been really hard for them. But they always had the control of their life to take a day off, to go to the lake with the kids. Like my dad, I remember he would quit work at noon some days because Mom would call him up and say, hey, we're going to go to the beach today. Can you join us? And he'd say, yeah, why not? He'd quit work at noon and he'd come spend time with us. And I never forgot that, like, the fact that my dad had the control to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to take this day and spend it with my kids. And so for me, as we started to grow this farm, I started to think to myself, I could raise 2 pigs to feed my family. If I raised 10, then I could sell a little on the side. If I raised 50 chickens, sure, I could feed my family. But if I raised 300 chickens, then maybe I could, make a little money on the side. Maybe that could free me up like my dad was freed up, for us growing up. Maybe that could allow me to be home a little bit more. So one of the major goals was I wanted more control of my own life, financially, in one way financially, but also just in the time I could spend with my family, with my kids. I also enjoy growing businesses. I love brainstorming. I love coming up with brands. So there was that element to it also. I just enjoy the process of seeing an idea grow. And I loved working with my dad. But something my dad used to always say that kind of stuck with me. He loved music growing up. He loved playing guitar. And he got me into guitar at 12 years old. I started playing. And he always used to say, if I could do it all over again, I wish I had started my career in music. Because it was something that he loved.
Yeah.
He taught me the trade. He's a contractor. He can build homes. He does landscaping. He does excavation. He has lots of big machines. And he taught me those skills and that trade. And he's great at what he does. And it's a fulfilling work. But it's not what he loves. He loves playing music.
Right.
And he wishes, looking back, that he had somehow gotten into the world of music so that he could be doing what he loves. I wanted to have more control so I could be with my family more. I like starting businesses. I got that drive. And ultimately, I really wanted to do what I love.
Next step, what did you do after that? You've decided you want to do something. Did you know right away it was going to be a homestead business?
No, and it's funny. The business has changed in so many ways. When we first started this business, it was just going to be a small side project. I was going to sell some chicken and some eggs.
Right. And keep your day job?
Yeah, I was going to still be working with Dad. That was a progressive change. I did ask for 1 day off a week, so I started taking Fridays off every week. And I called those Farm Fridays.
Right.
I'd be at home and I'd work on the farm. Now, one of the challenges with farming, and for anyone who's thinking about making the jump into farm business, margins are tight and the workload is huge.
Yeah.
So you spend hours and hours and hours producing food, which you make a very small profit on. Now, there's ways around that and a lot of ways to get creative and to grow your farm business, especially when you look at multiplying revenue streams beyond selling bacon.
Right.
But when we first started marketing the farm business, I was never going to become a full-time farmer.
Okay.
I knew I was going to help pay for the food I was raising for my family that way.
Right.
But it was never going to be my full-time job.
Okay. So right now, sitting where we are, we're at the end of 2015. Would you say that's still your goal with this business?
This business has changed so much. Starting my farm business showed me a few different things. It showed me I could do it.
Yeah.
I am, as you know, not very good with paperwork.
Nope.
Red tape. Any kind of governmental interventions.
No. Governmental interventions?
No, like any
you walk in on Congress and be like, you guys need to stop this. We're having a sit-in.
Really
you
bad.
have a problem.
Dealing with bureaucracy.
Right.
So anytime I have to go to the town hall to fill out paperwork.
Because that's bureaucracy, man.
So that stuff is hard. And even just keeping a track of financing, pricing.
Yeah.
What I am good at is marketing, building a brand, customer service, dealing with my customers. And I love growing businesses. I really have a passion for just seeing something become bigger. And that's what kind of led me to this point where my little farm business it started and it continues as a little farm business on the side. But it unlocked, I learned some skills growing that farm business. So I learned how to build websites. I used to do a lot of video editing and video production throughout school. I went back to doing a lot of video projects just to, show what we're doing on the farm. So through the building of the small farm business, I started to get back into these skills that I could then market in another way.
Yeah.
So the small farm business led to another business.
Cool.
I've been described as a serial entrepreneur. This new business of becoming an internet marketer.
Right.
So I've started this business just by helping my parents' business and my own. First, I had to sell bacon without going to a farmer's market. So I learned how Google worked. I learned how to build a website, learned how to make videos that inspired people to, purchase from you, and how to write good copy. And then I started getting some education. That was a big step. When I realized, I have a knack for this, but I am not a professional.
Right.
I need to learn more. And so I found a couple different sources of online education, low cost, flexible, worked into my schedule, on-demand education that I could attend. It wasn't college. I didn't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars and go into debt to do this. I could pay a monthly fee to learn about internet marketing and get better at this.
Yeah.
And through that, I launched my marketing business. So now I have this marketing business. It came at the perfect time because my parents' business, they decided to scale down a little bit. And there came a time where they said, all right, we're scaling down to the point where if you now want to make that jump to do your own thing full time, we'll still use you for our marketing and helping to grow our business, but we won't have a full-time spot for you.
Yeah.
And that came at a perfect time. I was able to say, yeah, you know what? I can still work with my parents. I love working with my parents. I love spending time on the job with my dad. I can still go there and help their business doing their marketing work.
Yeah.
But now I'm able to pick up new clients. And so that business kind of grew out of the fact that I had got my confidence in the small farm business. But then another thing happened. That cereal thing, right?
Yeah.
We launched this podcast.
Right.
Almost 2 years ago, we started this. And this podcast I love podcasting. I've always been into listening to podcasts. And as we've said before, you and me, we played music together for years.
Yeah.
We did music recording, made a couple albums,
Right.
which are pretty awesome. And so I already had the skills to produce the show. I did not go into this show with the idea of it becoming a full-time business.
Right.
But I always had the idea that if we could produce a quality show, I had a feeling we could monetize it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it as a full-time job yet, but I always thought, well, this could be a nice side income. So you see the way I look at the world. I don't want a full-time job. I want to have like 8 little side jobs that are all giving me enough money to get by.
Well, I think one thing you've said that I see is true in many businesses and many small businesses is, and if you're listening and if you're thinking about a business, keep this in mind. If you're too rigid with your plan, I mean, you should have a plan when you start, obviously.
It's a good
But
idea.
if you're too rigid, you are setting yourself up for failure. You probably don't know in 3 years exactly what's going to be the best use of my time, what's going to make me the most money. You don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you have an idea, and maybe your idea plays to your strengths. I know that I'm good at doing X, so I'm going to start a business doing X. Great. But make sure you keep some flexibility in there.
Yeah.
So that you're able to look back and say, like, yeah, I wanted to do this, like you. You wanted to have a small part-time farm, and you do. Great.
Yep.
But then you realize, like, I'd rather like step away from my day job and do these other things. Fine.
Yeah.
Keep that flexibility. You need that flexibility. Otherwise, you're going to just dig yourself into this rut right away, and you'll hate your own business just as fast as you'll hate any other.
That's a good point. I realized very quickly with the farm business, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to scale it, one of the best decisions was to start the business as a small project.
Yeah.
Because instead of spending my whole life savings and telling the man to shove it, you know what I mean? Like telling the world, I'm going to just do my own thing.
Yeah.
I was able to try it and then say, you know what? I love working with animals. I love producing food. But I don't love it on a scale of full time.
Right.
I like going on vacation.
Yeah.
I like getting to travel with my kids.
Yeah.
If I had a full-time, full-scale farm, I would have to be here all the time.
Yep.
So it allowed me to experience owning and running a business without throwing my life down the deep well and not being able to climb back out without being in trouble.
Right.
And that allowed me, like you said, to adapt and say, I don't really want this business to grow, but I do want a business to grow.
Good.
And the marketing business took off. Now that's paying the major bills. That's my primary work. So if you have a business and you need help with your internet marketing, give me a call. But the best part...
What's the name of your business? How do they find
One
you?
Basket Marketing.
One Basket Marketing.
We're geared towards small business owners whose all their eggs are in one basket. We specialize in low-cost, flexible, grassroots marketing.
Okay.
Which is, again, you kind of go back to why I started the podcast. Originally, it was a way to low-cost, grassroots market my farm brand.
Yep.
Because at first I thought I wanted to grow my farm brand.
Yep.
But then here's the coolest part. Now the podcast is becoming this major business.
Yeah.
Now every month I'm spending full-time hours doing what I love the most, which is homesteading and sharing it through the medium of podcasting and video, which are two hobbies of mine. So now I'm not at the point right this second where Homesteady is my full-time job.
No.
But in the next few years, that's going to happen. It will get to the point where even my marketing business will then be a side business.
Yeah.
Because I love me a little side hustle.
Of course.
But homesteading, podcasting, making video, these are my hobbies. And I will be earning a living, spending time with my family, doing what I love. And I think about my dad and what he always wanted. And one of the things I miss most from working with my dad is being with my dad every day.
Yeah.
That was great time. And one of the things I look forward to now is the fact that because I have this and I'm building this business, I can get that back again. I can say to my dad, which we're planning on this winter, he's going to come up, help me build a hoop house up here, help do some work to the property. We're going to get to spend time together doing what we love, working together in, outside on property and on our own place. And I'm going to make a living from that.
Yeah.
So just making that leap, starting that first little hobby business has led to this life now where I get to get paid, spending time with the people I love, doing what I love. But let's get one thing straight. I'm not going to get rich doing this.
No.
So the priority was not what can I do in my life that will make me the most money. The priority was how can I structure and plan my life? And I'm not a planner. But when it came to spending time with the people I love, doing what I love, I had to sit down and say, okay, we need to make a path there.
Okay.
And it's been 4 years, and it will be a few more before it's full time there.
Right.
But I know now that's where we're going.
Good. So you've gone through 4 years now. If you were to look back and give, let's say there's someone exactly like you out there. Maybe they don't hate their job, but they want to do something on their own. Give them 2 pieces of advice. What would it be?
Okay, the first, start slow. Okay, let me rephrase that. Start
Yes.
slow. So do something. Start selling eggs. I know we just told everybody not to do that because it doesn't make money.
You won't make any money on eggs. I veto his opinion on this one.
That's why he's here. Thumbs down. But start something. Start something small. If it's an Etsy shop online, find something that you love doing. Okay, so maybe you love laying on the beach all day, right? And you're not going to make any money laying on the beach.
Probably not.
But could you find a way to go to the beach and make some money? And then you get to lay on the beach. So take something that you have real passion and drive that you will never get sick of doing. And then find a small way to make some money off that. Make it a goal to just make $1. Just make your first dollar. That's the hardest dollar to make. To get to the point where you can set up shop and receive $1 and have your systems in order where that can happen. I mean, that takes forever. And then when you make $1, that's when, like you said, don't be rigid. Don't say like, oh man, I just sold an egg. I'm going to be an egg farmer. Because as we talked about in the last show with John, like you might do something and realize it's not working. And like for me, that was the small farm business. It was fine, but I couldn't scale. Because at a bigger scale, I would be dead.
A slave.
I'd be, a slave,
Yeah.
working way too much for what I would earn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get to do what I wanted, which was spend more time with my kids. I'd be outside in the hay barn all day.
Right.
So start, but start slow. and find mentors who you can get some experience from, who can help guide you along the way, and who will cheerlead you. Because there are going to be people in your life who are going to be like, well, why are you doing that? You have a great job. Oh, stop dreaming. That's not going to... Like, if I would have said to most people, oh, I'm going to start a podcast and that's going to be my full-time job, including myself, if I had said that 4 years ago, most people would have been like, you're ridiculous.
Or are you, Ira Glass? Come on.
But it's happening.
Yeah.
So start something, but start slow, and then get yourself a small network of people that are going to help get you there. Maybe people who've been there before. I have friends. I've made friends like, for example, John, right?
Yeah.
From Farm Marketing Solutions. We talk with John. John's my buddy. He's been podcasting longer than me. He's been running online business. We've sat down and talked ideas before. He's helped me with ideas. So find yourself some people who can help you, who believe in the ideas that you have, and who also, okay, this is another huge thing. In that group of people, in that network you build, find people who believe in your ideas, find people who aren't afraid to see you take a leap, but also have people like Accountant Mike who aren't afraid to let you know when something is a thumbs down.
When your ideas are terrible.
I'm fortunate. I have 2 people in my life. I have lots of people who are cheerleaders. My family is a family of cheerleaders. But sometimes your cheerleaders don't tell you, that right there is not a great idea.
Right.
Or that right there, more importantly, isn't working.
Right.
Fortunately, my wife and you are 2 people that are not afraid to tell me. So my wife and my best friend both will tell me, this is cool and this is great. That's not.
Right.
The show's editor is Kendra.
Yep.
Because Kendra can tell me flat out, she loves me, she is my biggest fan. But she can tell me, that's not good. You just made a thing that's not good.
Right.
And I get all in a hissy fit. Like, what are you talking about? It's amazing.
It should be a 4-hour-long podcast.
And then I usually call you up and say, what's your opinion? And you say, oh, that's not good.
And I agree with you.
So make sure to give yourself a network of people who believe in you, who aren't afraid to see you make that jump, but also will help you spot things that you might be a little too headstrong or a little too much heart in.
Yeah.
Who will be able to say, this idea is still good. You know, your idea still could work, but also aren't afraid to give you the thumbs down. To say, look at this, for this reason, this isn't working.
Right. And who won't thumbs down your whole project?
Exactly.
Like, your life goal sucks. You don't want that person.
No.
But you want someone who's going to say, like, okay, your life goal, you want to get there.
Yep.
You're doing X, Y, and Z to get there. X and Y are great, but Z
Exactly.
stinks. Yeah.
And you need a person like Accountant Mike who's going to look at it analytically and say, for this reason, not just like, oh, I feel like that's a dumb idea, but like, take a look at the numbers.
Right.
If you're not the kind of person who is good with numbers or good with paperwork on it, find people who are, find a way to work together, and listen to them. Trust their input. Because if I weren't trusting Kendra's input or your input on the show or on things we've done, and I just did what I thought was good, I wouldn't be where I am today.
You would have a 4-hour-long podcast.
Yeah, of me monologuing.
Just repeating things over and over.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another 4-hour session of Austin Talks.
You'd also have a goatee probably by now. There's other areas in life that it's useful to have people like this.
Right. So that, I think, there's a lot of things, and it is hard, and like there are tough times, there's ups and downs with owning your own business.
Right.
And it is not always going to work.
Right.
And every idea of yours is not going to work. And things are going to fail. And things are going to do okay.
Sure.
Lots of the launches we've done with Homesteady, I've in my head thought, oh, this is going to be my full-time job now. And then I think, oh, no, okay, this is going to pay some bills.
Right.
So don't have visions of grandeur. Be realistic. So start slow and build that network of helpers, partners, cheerleaders, and most importantly, constructive critics.
Yep.
People who, and the word constructive there means people who want to build.
Yep.
Not people who want to tear down and say, you're garbage. People who want to build.
Right.
That's what construction is. But people who want to build the right way.
Good.
And aren't afraid to say, that's bad.
All right. So I'm going to flip this interview on its head for a second here.
Woo!
Whoa! And I'm going to say, from my standpoint, If I was going to give 2 pieces of advice to someone who wants to do this, my first piece of advice would be to keep yourself accountable. When you start a business, it's going to be very easy to say, I want to do these things, and I want to do X, Y, and Z, and that's my goals. Yeah! And then you start doing it, and it's very easy to get 6 years later and realize, like, I have completely forgotten about my goals. So what I mean by keep yourself accountable is, like, okay, write your goals down when you figure them out. Write them down, put them in an email, send yourself a time delay email, that's fine. Later, 6 months, a year later, look at them. Ask yourself, how am I doing on these goals? Am I actually making progress towards them? Have I accomplished them? Have I moved backwards? Did you, Austin, start this business to spend more time with your family, and now you're out traveling on the road all the time?
Yep, such a good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
My second piece of, so that's my first piece of advice, keep yourself accountable. And you're the only one who can do that. You have to hold yourself accountable. My second piece of advice, you touched on it already, allow yourself to be flexible and allow yourself to accept failure. I don't
that's great. Yeah, that's great.
I don't necessarily mean absolute failure, but I mean like especially if you're starting a business that is, let's say, a little off the beaten path. If you try something and you really try it, look back 3 months, 6 months later and ask yourself, did it work? And don't let yourself rationalize. Don't let yourself give qualifiers. Ask yourself a couple of questions. Did it earn me money net after my expenses? Did I enjoy doing it? Do I want to keep doing it? Don't let yourself rationalize. Those questions are yes or no questions. Yes, no. If you get 2 out of the 3 yeses, okay, keep doing it. If you get 2 out of the 3 no's, stop. That's my 2 pieces of advice that I would play off of that. Keep yourself accountable. And then secondly, allow yourself to be flexible and allow yourself to fail.
Yep.
I do interact a lot with a lot of business owners, and due to the nature of my job, I see all of their details. I see what works. I see what doesn't work. And more importantly, even though it's kind of hard to say this, I see the personalities of the type of people who go into business and then immediately dig themselves into a hole and then stay in that hole for 20 years.
Yeah.
And you, Austin, have very different experience because you have none of that experience.
I just have my own.
But you've actually done it.
Yeah.
And I would say, from my standpoint, I mean, I know your numbers. I know what you're doing. You are making a success out of it.
Yes. There was a slight hesitation.
especially when using Austin's definition of success.
That's the one. So I'm not making myself rich.
No.
But I'm living the life.
You are.
My goal, like you said, those 3 questions, you nailed it. The rate of success is not are you getting wealthy?
Did you earn more money than you spent?
Right.
That technically is a success.
Yeah.
Sure.
And if your goals in the beginning, like you said to do, write down your goals and email them to yourself. If your goal is in this order, have control of my life, spend time with my family, and provide for my family.
Yeah.
If that's your goal, then all you need to do is see the business heading into the world of profit. Yeah. Now, a startup is not going to be profitable the first year, maybe 2.
Well, the traditional rule of thumb is at least 2 to 3 years before a business starts making enough money to live off of.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's going to be different for everybody, but don't expect yourself your first month, oh no, I'm not in the black here,
I lost money.
So, and also factor that in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
But again, if your goal is have control, spend time with your family, and provide for your family, because that's part of it. It's got to be viable.
Right.
Then I can look at what's happening with me right now, and there are times where money is tight.
Yeah.
But my goal is not to get rich.
Right.
My goal is to be in control and be around my family and provide what they need.
Good.
And by those 3 things, I can say yes, yes, and yes.
Your success.
Yeah.
Good.
Now I got to keep growing.
Right.
I'm not done. And like you said, there are months where there's downs.
Yeah.
And you might answer no to that one of those questions.
Yeah. And that's where it's good. I find with a lot of the clients that I deal with, a lot of them don't have clear goals when they start.
Yeah.
And I just read a stat, and I wish I could remember it, but I don't. But anyway, the point of the stat was this. You are much, much, much more likely to accomplish something when you have a goal that is quote unquote concrete.
Yeah.
And I don't mean concrete meaning like I'm going to build a house.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, in 2016, I want to earn gross $70,000 from my business. That's a concrete goal versus like
better.
I want to make more money.
Yeah.
That's a very abstract goal.
Yep.
I mean, it's good that you have a goal, great.
Yeah.
But you are much more likely to work towards accomplishing a concrete one, partially because you can keep yourself accountable to that goal.
There's in archery, there's a saying, aim small, miss small.
Okay.
And the point is, don't aim for the target.
Right.
Aim for the little tiny speck.
Aim for the bullseye.
Not even the bullseye.
Oh, geez.
Look at like the shading of the bullseye and
dang.
look for a darker spot.
You're like Robin Hood, man.
Exactly.
Wow.
Aim small, miss small.
Yeah.
So don't just have a big, I want to hit the target, which is have my own business and make money.
Maybe you should start with that goal.
Right.
but
like,
you know.
I want to have my own business. That's the target.
Yeah.
And then the bullseye is I want to be making more money next year.
Right.
But then aiming small is I want to make
I want to
$10,000 more dollars.
Yep, exactly.
I want to make $1,000
Right.
with my business.
Yep.
If you are starting a new hobby business,
That's your goal.
maybe it's I want to make my first dollar
Yeah.
with my side hobby business.
And one thing I'll add on to what you're
Yeah.
saying, try to always put a time frame on this stuff.
Like that.
I want to make my first dollar within 3 months.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything. Within 3 months, I want to make $1. Then after that, I set myself a new goal. Within 12 months from now, I want to bring in $5,000.
Yep.
12 months after that, I want to bring in $20,000.
Yep.
If you can always keep a time frame on it, be as specific as you can,
Yep.
and then keep yourself accountable. Look
Yeah.
back. Did I do it? And then if you didn't, okay, that doesn't mean you're an utter failure,
Yeah.
unless you missed the target. And
Just
if you
adapt.
missed the target, okay. If you miss the target, get closer to the
miss
target.
targets.
If you miss the target, get closer to the target. Figure out how to do that. Figure out how to change the rules.
Definitely.
And then if you are working in this constantly evolving process of setting new specific goals and then later holding yourself accountable, that is primarily the difference between 10 years from now working for yourself and loving it,
Exactly.
or 10 years from now just wasting all of your time doing nothing and hating it. So, well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. This is great.
Yeah, I love it.
You know, something that I wish we could do?
What?
I wish we could have this conversation actually with people who want to do this. Because, I mean, right now we basically have this big megaphone of the podcast and we're yelling things
Yeah.
out there. But nobody
only-
can get back to us.
If only there was technology that could allow us
Technology.
to get together with a group of budding,
like, virtually.
passion entrepreneurs.
I mean, like a hologram.
We
like
could
in
start
Star
like
Wars.
we could make it like a program.
Yeah.
Like the Homesteady
I don't know.
business
Class, maybe?
class is too like
Okay.
you're gonna get a degree. I want like
yeah, we're not
launch. I want to see
Oh.
people do this.
Okay.
I don't want to hand out a degree.
Like a rocket? Like a launch pad?
Lift off. Yes.
Lift off.
Launch pad.
All right, I like that.
Launch pad. The Homesteady
Launch
business
Launch pad.
launch pad.
Yeah.
The place where we can get together with other real budding entrepreneurs.
Right. Help
And
them
do
do
this.
this. You said you have a passion for...
Cut the camera. We got to do something real quick here. Yeah, okay. Now we're ready to make a pitch. We're gonna get all pitchy.
Yes. Pitch it.
Is that pitchy enough? Is that like infomercial? Would you like to start a homestead business?
Always starts with someone failing at something, like slicing a banana.
I have no money.
Where'd my money go?
Do you want to start a homestead business?
Yeah.
We're not talking about like, do you want to start a farm?
No.
Like a passion business. Yeah, this is the Homesteady show. Probably most of you guys want to start like selling some kind of chicken meat or something. But like, if you have a passion business, do you want to start a podcast that turns into a business? Talking
it.
about like what you love. Do you want
You want to make jam?
make jam? Do you want to jam? I mean, like whatever you want to do.
Do you want to start a
wanna
farm
help.
consulting business?
We want to help you with your passion business. We want to see it grow. So we're starting the Homesteady Business Launchpad.
3, 2, 1, fire!
We're also space geeks.
Yeah.
Like, I went to space camp as a kid.
And I will forever hate him for that. Because I didn't. Forever.
10 of you will be on a live webinar with us once a week for the next 6 weeks, taking you through the 6 steps. We've developed a 6-step launch program.
Probably half of each class is going to be us talking directly to you.
Asking you questions.
Right. And saying like, okay, this week we talked about these fundamental basics that you need to do. All right. John, how are you doing this? Claudia, how are you doing this? You're not? How can we help you do this? Okay.
And that's why we're only letting 10 people into this.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that you 10, the first 10 in of our pilot program, receive enough attention, enough coaching from us to see your business. Like we said, this is not a school.
No.
Schools hand out diplomas, which are honestly
Which you
not
then
worth-
get and throw away.
We want you to actually start a business. So we're designing this program to help walk you through the steps. So in 2 months, your little passion project,
Idea.
dream, will be a real business. And that is where it all started for me. That's where it's all going to start for you. So hurry up, get in this class fast, because there's only 10 spots.
Yep.
There will be another one. Don't worry if you miss out. There'll be
Probably.
another one.
There'll probably be another one.
Right? Or we'll
Who
get
knows?
hit with an asteroid, like in 2 seconds.
Yeah, and if
So
that's
buy
the
now.
case- That's a corny joke. No, not corny.
Is a good way to end it?
Like,
So
okay.
what you need to do right now, we have a big button on this episode. It's a giant button. It says, get on the early warning email list. Click it, give us your name and your email
Number.
address.
Serial number, phone number, house
We'll take
number.
those too.
Mostly just name and
Yeah,
email. You
name
can
and
make up
email.
a name if you want. That's fine. Cool.
Get on that list.
Hello, Genghis
Those
Khan.
people are going to be the first ones to know when this goes up for sale.
Yep.
We are only taking 10 people.
Yep.
No exceptions. I'm sorry, but if the class goes well, we'll do another. So, all right,
That's it.
get on the list. That's everything we got.
See you later, guys.
We got work to do. I want to end with the asteroid hitting. That was pretty good.
Okay.